Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're strapping in for a descent.
A pretty significant one.
Yeah, into the digital underworld. We're going to be analyzing the hidden layers of the internet where, digital assets, credentials, all that stuff is being actively traded.
And weaponized. For organizations, trying to get a handle on this hidden environment is, well, it's the ultimate security challenge.
Okay, let's unpack this. I want to start with a number from our sources that just sets the stage perfectly.
I think I know the one you mean.
The sheer scale of exposed information it's almost beyond belief. Right now, there are at least 24 billion credentials floating around on the deep and dark web.
24 billion.
Ready to be exploited. That single figure for me is the foundation of modern cyber risk.
It's a starting pistol for, almost every major breach we see. 24 billion isn't just some abstract number.
No.
It represents a complete failure of credential security on a global scale. It means threat actors aren't spending time brute-forcing systems anymore.
They're just walking in the front door.
They're just buying the keys to the kingdom. This availability, it translates directly into immediate severe risk for any enterprise. You simply have to know if your organization's assets are part of that digital fire sale.
Which is where monitoring comes in.
That's why proactive monitoring is so essential. So our mission today is really to analyze a specialized response to this whole crisis.
And that is the Threat Vision Deep and Dark Web Risk Monitoring Service.
Exactly. We're going to look at the unique intelligence it gathers and, maybe more importantly, the strategic advantages it delivers to you, the listener.
Okay, so before we get into the solution, we have to define the problem space, the geography of it.
The terrain.
And we love the iceberg analogy here. I think it's the perfect way to visualize it.
It really is.
So if you imagine the internet as this huge iceberg, the part we all see and use every day, Google, social media, news sites, that's just the tiny tip.
The surface level.
Right, the surface level. And it accounts for only about, 4% of the entire web?
Just 4%. And if you're only monitoring that, you are entirely missing the threat.
So under the water.
Directly beneath the surface is the deep web. This is the bulk of the iceberg. A colossal 90% of the entire internet.
90? That's huge.
It's massive. And it's not all criminal. Think of corporate intranets, protected databases, academic archives.
Things behind a password, basically.
Exactly. It's not inherently illicit, but because it's so vast, it's where most of the leaked data tends to end up.
And then way down deep, you have the dark web.
The final 6%.
Yeah.
This is where you get the dedicated criminal forums, the illicit marketplaces. You need specialized tools like Tor to even get there.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture.
The risk model.
Yeah.
The geography immediately explains why you need comprehensive monitoring. The dark web, that 6%, it gets all the media attention.
Of course.
But the deep web, that massive 90%, that's the primary storage and movement area for bulk leaked assets.
So credentials, data dumps, all that.
Everything. A solution that only scans the dark web is, well, it's functionally blind to the vast majority of the digital risk just sitting there, waiting.
Okay, so we know where the data is, but let's talk about the sheer volume of it that's already compromised.
The active risk environment.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Threat Vision doesn't just look for new breaches. It monitors the pool of compromised data that's already out there.
And that pool is enormous.
The numbers become truly actionable here. We're talking about tracking over 1.5 billion leaked sensitive data points.
1.5 billion.
And information pulled from over 77 million compromised devices. That's not old news. That is real-time fuel for attacks.
We really have to contextualize those figures.
Yeah.
The 1.5 billion sensitive data points, that's more than just usernames and passwords.
This is the good stuff.
This is intellectual property, PII, financial documents. It's the material that enables corporate espionage or huge identity theft campaigns.
But that other number, 77 million compromised devices. How does a device even show up on the deep web?
That's a critical question. This figure, it largely represents logs that are aggregated from info stealer malware.
Info stealers like Redline or Raccoon.
Precisely. They get on an employee's device or a corporate one, and they just scrape everything. Saved passwords, cookies, browser history, crypto wallets.
Wow.
These logs, sometimes called bot logs, are then packaged up and sold, often for very cheap, on dark web forums.
So the 77 million is the measurable footprint of successful malware campaigns. It's not just one login. It's everything.
It's everything. It gives attackers what they need for lateral movement inside an organization. If one of those 77 million devices belongs to an employee
And it has a saved VPN password.
or an RDP credential, anything like that, then the organization is already compromised. Your fancy firewalls don't matter. Monitoring at this scale means you can catch that exposure before an attacker decides to use it.
We've established the massive problem. Now let's shift to the unique advantage of this specific solution.
The differentiator.
Exactly. There are a lot of monitoring services out there, but many seem to have a Western English language focus. Threat Vision seems to stand out because of its specific regional and linguistic focus.
And this is the crucial part. If your security team is only using tools that monitor English language forums, you are missing huge, sophisticated threat communities.
You've got a blind spot.
A massive one. Team T5 provides this unique visibility by specifically covering various Chinese-speaking channels that hackers exploit.
And why is that specific focus so important?
Because it's a strategic advantage. Chinese-speaking threat actors, including very sophisticated nation-state groups, they often operate in their own dedicated forums and encrypted communities.
They're siloed off.
Linguistically and regionally, yes. They're separate from the traditional dark web ecosystem that many tools monitor.
That's a powerful claim. But what about other regions? If you're a global company, does focusing on APAC mean you might miss something from, say, a Russian forum? Is there a trade-off?
It's more about specialization where the intelligence first appears. Accessing these specialized channels often gives you the absolute earliest warning sign of a targeted campaign.
You're getting in on the reconnaissance phase.
That's the idea. And the scope is detailed. We're talking over 1,500 deep and dark websites. And that explicitly includes these critical Chinese communities.
And it's not just websites.
No, they're also monitoring over 400 Telegram channels, social media, forums used by these Chinese-speaking attackers. It really confirms that comprehensive coverage across encrypted communities and those underground channels in APAC. If your solution is blind to that language, you have a massive intelligence gap. This closes it.
So you have this deep, specialized collection, but, collecting data is one thing. Making it usable is another challenge entirely.
Raw data can just be noise.
Right. The system is designed to be all-in-one and easy to use, which is key. When you're managing threat intel, speed matters. You need to be able to browse and search fast.
Especially with such diverse sources.
So once all this specialized data is collected and processed, how does an organization actually use it? I see two different paths here.
Yes, two distinct offerings. One is tactical and immediate. The other is more strategic and analytical.
Let's start with the tactical one, the Deep and Dark Web Risk Alert.
This is for the Security Operations Center, the SOC team. The people on the front lines who need actionable data right now to stop a breach.
So it's about speed.
It's all about speed. The focus is rapid monitoring and scanning, delivered through weekly alert notifications.
And these alerts are covering what? Mostly credentials?
Primarily leaked credentials and bulk data, like that initial 24 billion we talked about. The functionality is built for integration into existing workflows.
So it's easy to use.
Very. Weekly results are automatically updated on the Threat Vision platform, and, this is crucial, they can be easily exported to a CSV file.
Ah, so you can act on it immediately.
Immediately. If you're a CISO and you see 50 new compromised accounts, you need that CSV list right now to force password resets and push MFA to those users.
Okay, that's the tactical side. Now, pivoting to the strategic side, there's the Deep and Dark Web Tailored Report.
Right. This is for when you need more than just raw data. It's for comprehensive context and long-term strategic insight.
So this is a tailored analytical report for enterprises.
And it's coupled with a professional consulting service. This report is written by actual Team T5 analysts, not an algorithm, based on the intelligence they've collected.
So if the alert tells me what was leaked, the report tells me what to do about it.
That's a perfect way to put it. The report provides an in-depth analysis. It goes beyond a simple leak-detected notification.
It gives you the so what.
Exactly. It offers a detailed risk evaluation. Who's the threat actor? What's their method? What's the potential impact? And then gives you concrete mitigation suggestions.
Can you give an example?
Sure. The alert might flag an executive's credential on a forum. The tailored report would analyze the surrounding chatter, identify the specific threat group, rate the risk severity, and then offer controls beyond just a password reset.
And just to confirm, this higher-level service still gets that specialized APAC collection.
Absolutely. In fact, that's what makes it so valuable. You're getting expert human analysis applied to that unique intelligence. The report specifically confirms its coverage of those encrypted Chinese-speaking channels in APAS, the forums, Telegram, all of it.
So it's specialized collection plus human expertise.
The best of both worlds.
That really moves us from abstract concepts into tangible results. So let's look at what the platform actually looks like in action.
The user experience.
Yeah. Looking at the example interface from the sources, it provides immediate, measurable proof of risk. The system clearly shows metrics like the total number of leaks found for a company.
Which was over 1,000 in that one example.
11,076 to be exact. And it's not a static number, right? It's constantly updating, showing things like 5 new data leaks latest week.
That visibility gives security teams a sense of control. They can see their exposure immediately. And when you look at the results, you see all the critical data points.
Like what?
You see the keyword, the email or username, the password, which is masked for security, of course, the date it was leaked,
And the source.
and the specific source details, down to the exact forum or Telegram channel where the data was found. That attribution is vital for understanding the threat vector.
And I imagine searching through all this is key.
The utility is maximized by how easy it is to search. You're not just handed a giant list. You can instantly search the entire intelligence pool for what matters to you.
So you can search for your company's domains, specific IPs.
Keywords, IPs, domains, even cryptographic hashes. You get immediate, targeted results. It shows how you can proactively check if your most critical assets are out there without digging through noise.
This has been a fascinating journey into the internet's more opaque corners.
It really has.
We started with the enormous scope of exposed data, that foundation of 24 billion credentials. We defined the digital iceberg, making it clear that the deep web, the 90%, is where most of this data lives.
And then we detailed a solution.
A solution that tackles the risk by focusing on a very critical specialized area, the Chinese-speaking hacker channels in the APAC region.
What's fascinating here is just the absolute necessity of that specialized comprehensive coverage. Modern defense requires looking beyond the obvious.
You can't just use a generic tool.
Not anymore. The sources make it clear. The exploitation is happening in closed, specialized, often regional channels. If your intelligence strategy isn't linguistically and regionally specific, you're basically just relying on luck.
So what does this all mean?
It means intelligence has to be specialized, it has to be timely, and it has to be seamlessly integrated into how you respond.
Indeed. And given the scale we've talked about, a single platform reporting over 1,000 leaks for one entity, tracking 1.5 billion compromised data points, here is a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. Given the vast, unindexed size of that 90% deep web and the constant flow of new infostealer logs, what is the true, comprehensive, global count of compromised assets that remains outside even the most specialized monitoring?
The unknown unknowns.
Exactly. The threats we can see are massive, but the risks lurking just beyond our visibility are potentially exponentially larger. And that realization for me really drives home the urgency of proactive, specialized, deep, and dark web intelligence.